Bye, Dante.
Hey, try not to suck any
Franks.
on the way through the parking lot. Hey, you, get back here.
What is up? Welcome in. We here are your fantasy clerks for the day. My name is Jeremy Schulman at Adjust the Ranks at FF_Rebel over on Twitter. We have a very special guest here, Ben McCown at Dynasty Big Mac FF today. We are doing, let's see if I can get the banner going. Technology, not my strong suit, but at least we made it work. A Superflex 0.75 tight end premium redraft mock draft for your viewing pleasure. We have a half-fill room. We're hoping to fill it soon. But more importantly, Dynasty Gambit, Dynasty Big Mac. Ben is here today. Ben, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Jeremy. And I know this has been a little bit of a challenge getting our schedules to sync up because obviously you're in European time. For me, I can't usually record until it's late at night, but the wife and kids are away. And so I just got home from work. It's early in the afternoon here in Michigan, and I'm ready to go, man.
Listen, dude, really appreciate you getting on. And for those of you who don't know, I'm over in Amsterdam, so it's 10 p.m. here. We do what we got to do for the love of the game. But yeah, it is hard because, by the time everybody is ready to go, it's 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Everybody's asleep. Everybody's relaxed. It's fantasy time in the U.S. Over here, it's like 3 in the morning. So, NFL during the season, I don't get sleep anyway, but I figure in the off season, I'll try to get a little bit of sleep before the season comes. So thanks for joining, Ben. And today we're going to get into this mock draft, but the first thing we want to do is talk to you a little bit about these ambiguous backfields that we're looking at. There are plenty around the league, but there's a lot that we need to talk about. And we're going to start with the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders have, of course, incumbent Brian Robinson, who is the starting running back. We have Austin Eckler, who is the third down passing down back. He's a veteran. That he's relatively reliable, even if he's slower. But we have Jaguars Merritt, who is pushing to, see some sort of playing time. Maybe at least he's getting all the hype. So let's talk about Washington here first, Ben, and JCM. I know you love him. What are you thinking is going to happen with him this year and maybe beyond from a dynasty perspective?
Yeah, being in Dynasty, we always want to find like the next diamond in the rough. And, we've been seeing a lot of camp hype coming out around Jaguars Merritt. And JCM's been looking real good in those in the videos coming out from training camp. I mean, just moves so well in between the tackles and is so smooth with his run. I think the thing that people discount with JCM is that a part of like his issue was the eligibility issues when he was at Arizona. And so, when he had his breakout year at New Mexico the year before, he ran for over 1,000 yards, had almost double-digit touchdowns or somewhere in the yard of double-digit touchdowns. And then he goes into the next year transferring to a Power 5 school or Power 4 school, and then has eligibility issues for 8 games. And so he can't play for most of the season. Yeah. And then really where he shines is the East-West Shrine Bowl, where he's the MVP of the game. And he ends up getting drafted in the 7th round to the Commanders. But I love the landing spot. Obviously, the draft capital isn't where we'd love to see it. But with how he's showing out in training camp, I feel like he's such a great dart throw at this point that, I honestly looked the other day. I was only able to pick him off waivers in one league. He was already, for the most part, rostered by a lot of people. I ended up trading Jarquez Hunter straight up for JCM in a league. And honestly, I could see either side of that coin. Sure. But I'm really feeling the hype on JCM right now. And I think there's a path because to me, Brian Robinson is not a strong starting running back, in my opinion. He's just had so much inconsistency. He's not very efficient. I think somewhere south of 4 yards per carry last year. And then, of course, you have an over 30-year-old Austin Eckler who has not looked the same since his San Diego days when, they were the LA Chargers at one point when he was there for most of it. Yeah. But yeah, as soon as he got to Washington, man, he was kind of second running back on the totem pole. He's there, as a good pass catching down back, but for me, I see the path for JCM, and I really am riding the hype train right now, and it's not expensive to do so. Now, I do think that there are some owners out there who are wary of his price, like wary that he is cheap right now, and are seeing the hype and are probably going to try and get a little bit more out of it. But if you can get some JCM on your team in some packages in dynasty deals in that way, I think he's a good pickup.
Yeah, I mean, certainly for Dynasty, absolutely. Like you said, he's relatively cheap. You can grab him off waivers. Maybe not now, but certainly a week or two ago. You could have, if he's on your waivers now, go ahead and, put in a claim. Why not? But when we're talking about redraft, he's really not an option for us unless, maybe he's your last round pick in a deep league and you just hold him for a couple weeks and you pray and you see what happens. But this is where you win, right? It's those ambiguous backfields where you're not really sure how he's going to shake out. Like you said, Brian Robinson, a little bit ineffective. He's kind of a volume hog anyway. But if JCM, it proves that he can be a reliable guy and he's more explosive, why wouldn't the Commanders give him a shot? Especially, the upside that comes with a highly talented running quarterback in the lanes that they open up. We've seen it with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley going for, the most yards in his career last year. We saw it with Derrick Henry absolutely exploding at age 31, 32, whatever he is now last year with Lamar. If JCM becomes that guy and becomes explosive, he can absolutely break out. So it is interesting. The thing you have to consider is B-Rob going to hold on to the job? We'll see. But let's talk about another ambiguous backfield here, and then we'll run through a few more. This is the one that everybody is talking about. It's Tank Bigsby. It's Travis Etienne. It's potentially Bashal Tutin and LaQuint Allen in Jacksonville. Yeah. But at least we have those two guys at the top, and Tank Bigsby is getting the hypiest hype that ever hyped in 2025. What do you think about Bigsby's prospects? I mean, both of these guys are relatively cheap. I was looking at Fantasy Pros ADP as it stands today. I think Etienne RB 33 and Bigsby RB 41. So how do you feel about those costs, and what do you think is going to shake out in this backfield this season?
Yeah, I think with the news coming out at camp, it makes things a little bit uneasy for any ETN owners, which for sure. I have him in my home league. I looked back a couple years ago. I drafted him in the 7th round of a startup, and now looking back, I'm like, man, I don't want to. This is why we don't look at our startups in the past, right? But that being said, I think the news has been there about Bigsby, right? And then of course with ETN, he has the opportunity to come in, and he had the draft capital with the old regime. This is a new regime still, so we're a little bit worried about that, but I think this is honestly the biggest knock to Bashal Tutin to me. I haven't been a big Bashal Tutin fan. I worry about a lot of things there, and I think the argument for a lot of people is he was drafted by this regime, but ETN wasn't going anywhere. I mean, he has a good connection with Trevor Lawrence. He was a 1st-round draft pick, of course, during the Urban Meyer days. And then you have Tank Bigsby, who has been, kind of a steady handcuff for the last couple of years. And I think Bigsby could definitely win that room. I'm a little bit worried as an ETN owner, but also I think ETN will probably start the season. And you know what? That is such an ambiguous backfield with that, man. Yeah. I don't know how to really read that, but I would say to me, the biggest loser is probably Bashal Tutin.
Yeah, that's fair. The way that I've been reading it is pretty simplistic. It's, we have Liam Cohen coming over from Tampa Bay. So you have Travis Etienne in that Rashad White plus role, and you probably have Tank Bigsby. The way that everyone's talking about him looks explosive on the ground in the Bucky Irving light role. Yeah. I don't think he's going to get it all right away. But for right now, RB 33, RB 41, both of these guys are insane value. I expect Bigsby's ADP to creep up throughout August. So especially with all of this hype, if we ever see him, I don't know that we will, but if we ever see him in a game in the preseason, right, and he explodes, it's over. But both of these guys right now are a value. I'm happy taking both of them at cost. So just pay attention to what's happening with their ADP here. But I totally agree with you. Those rookies don't seem like they're going to factor in right now. We're going to run through a couple of these because I want to get this mock started here in about 2 minutes. So let's just run through these and give me your 20-second hot take on what's happening with the Texans and Joe Mixon's injury.
Yeah. I don't even think it's even a hot take anymore, but with a lot of people come to me with my background in sports injuries and things related with that. Right. And I look at this from the perspective when I saw different things being said by D'Amico Ryans about the backfield and about Joe Mixon specifically. He didn't sound very forthcoming with the media on wanting to share his timeline, and basically has said he's working on it. He's gonna be ready for the field at some point. Hasn't really alluded to when. I honestly think Joe Mixon starts the year out on the pup, and you see that backfield split between Nick Chubb and Woody Marks. And I do think they'll probably go to Nick Chubb as the RB1 for the team, with Woody Marks being that third down pass catching back.
Yep. No argument there, except for the fact that everything that D'Amico Ryans said about Nick Chubb is like, he's done. He's cooked. Put him, he might as well retire at this point. Some odd comments from the head coach. Dameon Pierce came off the pup yesterday, I think. He's a really cheap pickup. He's not good, but I do agree with you that Joe Mixon is not going to be there. So whoever gets the volume here in what should be a much, a pretty decent, slightly above average Texans offense here in the league, I think is going to be valuable. So all those guys are worth a shot for sure.
I think in terms of dynasty value, I think Woody Marks is the guy to take your shot on, as again, just like JCM, another guy to stash and see where it goes, because I think he offers a ton of upside. He caught 261 passes as a running back, split between University of South Carolina. Hang on a second. He started off, I think, at Mississippi State and transferred to USC. But either way, just very good pass catching back. Was very great at the combine, and I think they drafted him, I believe, in the 4th round. They believe in Woody Marks as something. We'll see how that factors in with Nick Chubb, though.
Yeah. Listen, no clue yet, but just keep tabs on that. Let's do 2 more. We're going to go even faster through this one. The Denver Broncos. Are you a Harvey guy? Are you a Dobbins guy? Or you think McLaughlin Estime have anything to contribute here?
I don't think McLaughlin Estime have too much to contribute. I will say I'm a Harvey guy through and through.
Yeah.
But I think Dobbins definitely offers good value in late rounds, especially in redraft. I don't have the ADP input in front of me right now, but I would imagine in the teens. But yeah, to me, that's Harvey's backfield to lose.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets it all right away, but don't lose hope if he doesn't. Rookies sometimes take, a month or 2 to kind of acclimate. Thankfully at running back, it's usually less. I agree with you. It should be Harvey, and Dobbins is good until he's hurt, and he'll probably be dealing with something throughout the course of the season. He's just at that age, and his body kind of betrays him at this point, sadly. Finally, as quickly as possible, Javonte, Miles Sanders, or Jaden Blue. Who do you like for the Cowboys?
I'm out on Javonte personally. I think Jaden Blue is interesting. I think it's going to offer just some upside from what he was doing in college at Texas. We didn't get to see too much of him at Texas with some of the running backs that were ahead of him, right? But I do think Miles Sanders is not done. I think he's still got some gas left in the tank. And I do think, to me, he's the better running back between him and Javonte Williams, personally.
Yeah. And Miles has been the cheapest by far. It kind of fluctuates between Javonte and Jaden Blue in these drafts, but you really need to, I think, in a lot of cases, where you're going to find the most value and you're going to find the best hit is if you take the cheapest guy. I have a lot of Miles Sanders. I don't like it, but that's kind of just where I'm going with it because he's cheap. I have a little bit of Javonte. No, I'm not even talking about Phil Maffa. He's a gigantic human. So Phil Maffa has a chance at the goal line. No, I don't want to talk about him. But go ahead. If you want to talk about him, I'll give you 10 seconds.
I mean, I just know there's a lot of people in Phil Maffa's corner, and he was a good college running back at Clemson.
He was.
But it'll be interesting to see how he fits. I would not count him out.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, it's wide open. That's why we're talking about it. And Phil Maffa is definitely the cheapest guy. So feel free to take the cheapest guy in these situations. Okay. We are going to start it up. You don't need the reminder because it's in the bottom of the screen. All right. That's your Superflex 0.75 tight end premium draft. We're doing our best here to fill. We need 3 more. We'll give it about 10 seconds or so before I fire this up. Ben, you were at the 111. So in redraft, especially in Superflex, what are you thinking here in terms of, what are you hoping for at that turn there?
Yeah, I doubt any of like even the middle round running backs like Derrick Henry or Christian McCaffrey fall to me. But
Sure.
the thing is, I
Yeah.
have to keep in mind the format.
Yeah.
And, we don't run a lot of super flex redraft very much, right? A lot of people run one QB, no tight end premium, which we're running 0.75 tight end premium today.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping probably one of the quarterbacks falls to me here. And just adjusting things based on how I probably think it'll fall is hopefully I can end up. I don't think Burrow will fall to me, but potentially some of these other quarterbacks towards the end, like Jalen Hurts or anything like that. Now I'm talking on the board. We'll see if I get sniped, but
Nice.
yeah, I'm hoping one of those quarterbacks falls back to me.
I think you're okay. This is where I am leaning as well. I'm usually able to get him because it's either Lamar or Josh Allen. Jaden Daniels tends to be the third option for a lot of people. He's my QB1. That rushing ability is insane. They've added in the passing game. The defense isn't great. It's fine. It's good enough. Dan Quinn that has a good defense, but they're not fantastic. So it's shootout more often than not. Jane Daniels is my guy. What are you thinking about these top three quarterbacks and how do you order them?
In Dynasty, I absolutely put Jaden Daniels up there for possibly the 101, but I think you still have to go with Lamar or Josh Allen in redraft.
Fair. Yeah, I do like Lamar. I hear you. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm going Jaden Daniels. But yeah, I think with Josh Allen, for me, it's just kind of the lack of weapons. Certainly, he does it all on his own. But there's a lot of talk of James Cook falling off from his, 16 touchdowns.
I think it was 18 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something ridiculous. Who else is going to score the touchdowns, right? Like Josh Allen is already running in, a ton on his own. So for me, I just think, that offense is going to continue to click. And you can't really go wrong with these guys. But yeah, if I'm forced to choose, I love Daniels. Lamar is a close second for me.
At that point, you're nitpicking, right? I think all three of those guys offer like top 5 QB on the week at any point in any given week. And I think they're basically ending up right there.
100%. Okay, so you're about to be on the clock here. I'll run through the board as you pick, and then why don't you make both of your picks here? I'll force the hand of the team 12. I think they might go right away. And then you can talk about them. So we got Lamar, Daniels, Josh Allen. We got Jamar Chase at the 104. We got Bijan at 105, CeeDee Lamb 106, and Gibbs 107. Hurts and Burrow at the end there. And then Justin Jefferson before Ben makes his pick here of Saquon Barkley, Neighbors and Nakua at the turn, and Patrick Mahomes. Again, a super flex. Sadly, the algorithm does not love the super flex quarterbacks as much as we do. But how are you feeling about your start here, Ben?
Yeah, so Saquon in one QB redraft, again, what we usually play, but there's a little bit of a spin, ends up usually around the 104, somewhere in the top 4 picks. And I was happy to be able to get him at 111. Of course, this is super flex, so he's not as beefed up as some of the QBs that are going earlier than him. But that's kind of how the board fell, was Chase, Bijan. I think you could take Gibbs ahead of Barkley, absolutely. But then, of course, those quarterbacks just push some of those other positional players down the board, right? And then I came back around and picked Patrick Mahomes just because it is super flex. And I think Patrick Mahomes is probably one of the cheapest QB ones you can get right now. To me personally, I'm projecting a really great season. I think unfortunately, the one thing that kind of stood in the way of Patrick Mahomes is Rashee Rice's suspension. But I do think that he is going to get somewhere where it's like north of 4,000 yards, around 40 touchdowns, get back to the Patrick Mahomes, the days of old, because they have talked about wanting to air it out more going forward. They were doing a lot of dinking and dunking in the previous seasons because they didn't have the weapons that they wanted. Now, I do think Jalen Royals steps in and is hopefully going to get a really good shot with Rashee Rice being out on suspension and being that other top wide receiver besides Xavier Worthy. But we'll see. I do have a lot of hope in this Kansas City offense, and I think Patrick Mahomes will end up being hopefully in that top end of the QB1 spectrum.
Yeah, I feel that they have the weapons in place, certainly, assuming Hollywood Brown and everyone else can stay healthy and out of trouble. The
Absolutely.
biggest issue for me for Patrick Mahomes over the last few years has been Steve Spagnuolo. That's his defensive coordinator, who's just absolutely crushing it. And that's why they can win these games 17-16 without even trying. So it's disappointing to witness that, because we know what Patrick Mahomes is capable of. But, you hope that Travis Kelce and the like can put up another huge season. So here you see the second round. We had Puka, Mahomes, Derrick Henry, Brock Bowers, Genti, McCaffrey going into 2-6. I think that's still a little too late, but if he falls anywhere beyond that, you have to smash him in the second round. Amon-Ra, Trey McBride. Remember, we are 0.75 TEP. How can you forget us at the bottom of the screen? Brian Thomas Jr., A-Chan, Drake London, Ladd, and then AJ Brown and George Kittle. Because we're 0.75, I want one of these three tight ends. I don't care which one. George Kittle tends to go at the back of the third in the last couple of mocks that I've done here in redraft. I think it's too late. I think, if you can get George Kittle at the back of the third, you are absolutely stealing. He was the tight end one last year. He's, depending on scoring format, he's got the potential once again to be the tight end one this year, because everybody but George Kittle is hurt in that passing game. CMC, we have our reservations there, but George Kittle is that one reliable guy that if this is like what we talk about with Devonta Smith, where like if one of the other guys go down, Smith goes nuclear, right? George Kittle is the same way. He's steady, he's good. And he's even featured in some games, but if one of these guys goes down, he goes absolutely nuclear. And he did it last year with CMC out and Ayuk out, and Debo with whatever was going on there. So Kittle has that opportunity and that in his range of outcomes, and I absolutely love him this year. And I paired him with Drake London, who same. There's only one show in town, and it's Drake London. I love that too.
Yeah, I really like your start, Jeremy. I absolutely agree on Kittle. I think he's the number one target for Brock Purdy in San Francisco. I think getting CMC back will only help him open up in the defense. Right now, the only issue with that is now Jennings is injured. Ricky Pearsall is hopefully going to be like good to go when week one starts. He's still practicing, but. Yeah, I mean, Brandon Ayuk is unsure of whether he's going to start week one. They're hoping. I'm actually feeling pretty optimistic for him, but for me here, I'm really hoping and really riding like all of the hope that I have for this man, and that is Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he's going to take another step this year, and I think Kyler is going to make some adjustments. Drew Petzing knows that he was on the hot seat for how he handled last year and not getting Marvin Harrison the ball. So they got to do something. Marvin Harrison bulked up this year. He's ready to go. I'm ready to see kind of that next ascension towards, into the tier with Drake London and Brian Thomas. Hopefully we get that. But yeah, to get him here at the 311, I'm feeling pretty good. Yep. And with this next pick, I want to really, really shore up. I got a couple options here. I mean, I really like to, let me just remind myself, that's 2 wide receiver. So, I think in this instance, I want to go with a guy that I'm also kind of riding high this year and hoping that the connection with Justin Fields makes it happen, right? I think people were really worried a couple weeks ago when we saw the injury news for Justin Fields, and basically the Jets are cooked. It's over. But he just he stubbed his toe. He's gonna be fine. When the season starts, I think he's gonna have a great connection with Garrett Wilson, his old college teammate, and I really see many, many, many targets for Garrett Wilson this year.
Yeah, I love that. You heard it here. From the PT, a dislocated toe is you just grit your teeth, boys, and get through it. It's no big deal.
Relocate it, get back out there.
I love it. Garrett Wilson, for me as well. We know that, listen, both of those guys, there should be, let me start over. The craziest narrative this offseason was the questioning of the talent of Marvin Harrison, right? It's not a Marvin Harrison issue. It's a Kyler Murray issue. I think we all grasp this and understand it. Can Marvin Harrison find more success in the red zone? Can he find more of a connection with Kyler Murray? That's what we're hoping in this offense. But you mentioned Petzig. All right. That's really the consideration that we have to bring in here. And, there's nobody else. Michael Wilson is the clear 2, and he's fine. He can maybe command, single coverage attention, but you're not really getting anything from these guys out of the backfield in the passing game either. So it's the Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison show. But those guys can win. So feature those guys, do what you got to do. The talent is there. Garrett Wilson, the same thing. The only show in town with all the talent in the world. You just hope those quarterbacks can get them in the ball as much as possible. So I'm going to make my picks here. First of all, let's see. We have to break this news. Why don't you talk a little bit about Jordan Addison, Ben, and his now official 3-game suspension? How are you feeling about Addison, and where would you take him in redraft this year?
Yeah, in redraft, he's already probably considerably, like, before the suspension, going in the 6th, 7th round in redraft, and then now pushing things probably down into the 9, 10, 11th round. And at that point, hopefully you've built up quite a bit of your starting roster to where he's kind of somebody you can kind of stash on the bench a little bit. That's kind of how I've been I ended up actually doing that with Quinshon Judkins in a redraft that I'm in right now. Basically filled out my starting roster and said, F it. I know he's going to get probably a 4 to 6 game suspension, and I'm willing to ride with that on my bench. So I think if you can insulate yourself, absolutely take the shot on Jordan Addison, because we know he can be a stable wide receiver 2 throughout the season. But, the 3-game suspension does not help if you're getting him somewhere in the ADP of, 6th, 7th, 8th round. I don't want to take him that early.
Yeah, that's fair. And Jordan Addison for me is probably off my board. I think it's just a combination of that Minnesota defense is a little bit better. We got Jordan Mason, so we have kind of a reliable second running back. We have TJ Hawkinson healthy for a full season, and the 3-game suspension on top of all of it. I'm just concerned about him. He's a great player. The problem just becomes how many mouths there are. But he's one of these guys that, because of now his likely depressed ADP, if there's an injury or whatever, he can step in. He did it with Justin Jefferson out last year. We know what he's capable of. So, in the 11th, why not? So let's look at this, because we have some dissension in the chat. I love it. T. Higgins at the end of the 4th is too high. I disagree, sir. But Ben, what's your take on T. Higgins this season? My take is the Bengals defense sucks, and T. Higgins is the clear number 2. I'll happily take him over Mr. Touchdown Terry McLaurin and DK.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see who left that comment, because man, at the end of the 411, oh, California, we're buddies here. But here's the thing. T. Higgins finished off the season so strong last year, had a wide receiver 1 week against the Denver Broncos, one of the best defenses in the league, right? And at that point, when you're putting up wide receiver numbers with another wide receiver 1 on the other side, with a QB3 of the year giving you the ball, and they just signed you to the highest paid wide receiver 2 contract of all time, I'm loving T. Higgins in redraft. I still love him in Dynasty as well. I just probably want him as my wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. But I'm a big T. Higgins truther. I just think there's a lot of disrespect when it comes to the kind of talent that he boasts. It's just because he's sitting across from the wide receiver 1.
He is. And as you make your picks here, the other guy I was considering there for you, California school, was Tetaroa McMillan. Tetaroa, don't call me Tet McMillan. But I went with Kenneth Walker instead. Typically in that range, Devontae Adams was a guy I was taking. Now I am scared off because of the Matthew Stafford stuff. If Stafford is fine, I love Adams, but I'm just not totally sure what's happening there. The team is saying, hey, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Stafford's going to be in there. We know Stafford's a tough guy. You are very familiar as a Lions fan with Matthew Stafford. How are you feeling about him? Do you think it's smoke, or do you think there's fire with his back issues?
It's really funny that you bring this up, Jeremy, because I had a long discussion in our actually in the other Discord that I'm involved with some close buddies that are in the same network at FSAN, the Empire of the Elite, and ended up actually posting it to our Discord server about Matthew Stafford and how I'm feeling. And I am very well aware of Stafford's injury because he's had it here before in Detroit. In his last couple of seasons before we traded him to the Rams for Goff and 2 firsts, he had multiple back injuries, including fractures that were not known about in 2018 that he played through, which first of all, I also lamented about my love for Matthew Stafford in this post because he was the quarterback of my favorite NFL team in the formative years of my life. He is my QB through and through. And even when he went to the Rams, I was happy that he won a Super Bowl. He never left Detroit on bad terms for me personally. I know there's some fans that feel differently, but when we looked at the following year in 2019, he actually did have to miss 8 games because of thoracic spine fractures in that season. And this is not new. In 2022, he ended up having a spinal contusion where he had to be put on the concussion protocol because of a bruised spinal cord was the diagnosis. So this is not a new injury for him, and he's only getting older. He's 37 years old. Back injuries don't go away. They only progressively get worse if you are, one, re-injuring yourself, and as well as not making sure you're staying up on strengthening. Now, I will say, I'm not worried about Stafford's conditioning. I think he's a fighter. He will always try to fight to be out on the field. But I think what's going to fail him is the fact that his back could be getting worse from each hit he takes, and he's only getting older. So I am concerned. I am very concerned about him this season, missing some games, as well as I am worried for his pass catchers, notably Devontae Adams, as I think he has the biggest volatility with losing the quarterback. To me, Puka Nacua is kind of your short to intermediate route, like heavy PPR monster. And then, of course, you have Kyron Williams and the other pieces there.
Damn it, Spencer.
Damn it,
Spencer. God damn it. This is my guy. I haven't left a draft without Jamison Williams.
Hey, I was at Lions training camp the other day, and it is all JMO all day long. So
because
I'm feeling good about him this season.
He's a freaking stud. All right. You forced me to do it. You forced me to take the old man and redraft. I was going to go JMO there, but now I'm completely disheveled. And I probably should take a running back here or a quarterback. Damn it. All right.
I was going to say, who do we got left? We got
Screw it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. I'm taking Fields. I mean, he's far too low in ADP, for the redraft format. I'm not a huge fan of it, like you just mentioned with his stub toe earlier. But we just want these guys going for 1 year. I much would have preferred JMO and to have chosen between Kelsey or maybe a running back, but we got thrown off a little bit. But let me recap. And as we approach your pick, you can talk. I know you didn't get to talk about your last few picks. So let's just have a look quickly at the 5th and 6th round over here. Kenneth Walker for myself at the 502. Travion Henderson at the 5-6. Love that, sandwiched in between a bunch of QBs. We got Tet. We got RJ Harvey, your guy, snipe from you, potentially at the 5-10. And then in the 6th round, we got Stroud. No, thank you. JJ, yes, please. Jared Goff. Go if he's going this late in Superflex, why not? He's still got plenty of weapons, and it looks like he's roughly the QB 17, 18 there off the board. I'm okay with that price. Caleb Johnson is interesting at the 6-7. You see Travion and Caleb both from Huncho there getting those rookies. And Quinshon Judkins at the 705. With his situation, we're not totally sure what's happening there. But he's the guy. If they sign him, they should sign him. When will they sign him? Who knows? That's kind of the question. So we'll see.
You're
but why don't you vamp? Yeah, talking about Quinshon.
Quinshon. Sorry.
But that's all right. Let's move on to your guys and let you vamp a little bit about Drake May and TJ before you make your pick here.
Yeah, so I was pretty happy to see Drake May fall to me. He was kind of going in that range of quarterbacks right there where it's, Kyler, Dak, Caleb Williams, and Drake May. And it's, I got the last one in my tier at that point. Right.
Yep.
And I think I was kind of concerned. I had Justin Herbert lined up for me at 4-2, and I decided to take the gamble and hold off on quarterback for another round. And I was happy to see a guy who in my opinion, I think has a higher ceiling than Justin Herbert coming in this season. From a redraft perspective, a little bit different than Dynasty. I think that's kind of where he's falling in a Superflex redraft. Is kind of where I took Drake May, but I think the ceiling is so high for him this season. And, they've got a lot of ambiguity on their part in their receiver room, but I'm excited about New England, and I'm excited about Drake May's future for sure. And then in regards to TJ Hawkinson, I'm going to make my pick here real quick, and then we can get back to it. But in regards to TJ Hawkinson, I'm excited to see what JJ McCarthy has to bring to the table. Right.
Agree.
When you talk about, he's basically at this point a rookie QB, just 1 year removed. And I do believe that JJ will have a good career. I'm not as high on him as some others in regards to where he's going in ADP or which quarterbacks he's going ahead of. But I think that TJ Hawkinson offers the ability to be his safety blanket as a tight end with a rookie QB. Right. And TJ Hawkinson is, at this point, I believe, if I'm not looking at the numbers right, but 2 years removed off of his ACL injury. Believe, he ended up returning back last year, maybe the year before in November. But either way, to me, I think he's coming back. He's going to be, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I got you.
But I think he's going to come back, and he's just going to have a top 8 tight end year. I think he offers that upside. And I'm not worried about age. This is one redraft, and I think TJ Hawkinson's only 28 years old. He's fine. But I think he's going to have a good comeback year.
Absolutely. Do you have your guy queued up to pick here? Or do you need a second?
I do have my guy queued up to pick.
All right. I'm going to hit it. So why don't you pick it? With TJ Hawkinson, I hear you. JJ McCarthy, I think everybody is a little bit too concerned about who JJ McCarthy is. I think who he is more than anything else is accurate. He's someone who's pretty protective of the football. Can he push the ball downfield? Can he be consistent? I think most analysts will tell you they haven't seen enough from him on tape to give you an accurate assessment. But I'm buying into Kevin O'Connell. KOC is the reason that I want all the JJ McCarthy I can get. In addition to the weapons, you mentioned TJ. We talked about Jordan Addison, who went here at the 801, despite the suspension that just came out, although he's auto-drafted. His ADP will fall. But, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones still out of the backfield can do it. Most touches of his career last year. So this Minnesota offense is going to cook. And JJ McCarthy is going to Brock Purdy himself to, relevance this year. He's probably a mid-range QB2 if all breaks right for him. But he can also run a little bit. So I like him, and I like that situation. And look at that. We made you talk about the Minnesota Vikings and how good they are for a solid 4 minutes here, Ben. So I'm sure you're seething underneath.
Oh, yeah. I will have to say, a lot of people assume that my least favorite NFL team or most hated rival is actually the Packers, but it's actually the Vikings. And it's mostly... I'm sorry, Vikings fans, but you guys kind of, after you guys won the division a couple of years ago, lost in the playoffs to Kirk, your heads got a little bit big. And I think that the JJ McCarthy stuff doesn't help either. And then, of course, me being a Michigan fan, it just hurts to have to kind of root for him, but also want him to not succeed.
Yeah. Hey, listen, it is what it is. Fandom sometimes gets in the way. But we will persevere. We do it for the love of the fantasy game. You ended up with Zay Flowers and DeAndre Swift. Why don't you talk a little bit about them at the 7-8 turn?
I'll keep it brief as it's on your pick now. But, Zay Flowers for me is still on a high-powered offense with Lamar. Of course, believe, second or third year under Todd Monken. Really opened up the pass game last year. And I think Flowers is still a great target. Likely we're not sure exactly if he's going to be ready to go for the start of the season. So at that point, your biggest target competition at that point is Mark Andrews, with Rashad Bateman kind of behind you on the pecking order. So I'm not actually even the biggest Zay Flowers fan, but I think at this value and kind of where I think he could just be a solid wide receiver 2 for the rest of the season, I'll take that. And then DeAndre Swift, right now presumed RB1 for the Chicago Bears, and they've been speaking his praises during camp.
Yeah, I love that. DeAndre Swift should be the guy. Monungai getting hype. The only guy who's not getting hype is Roshan. So as long as you don't pick Roshan, he should be okay. Zay Flowers, I like Zay Flowers. I like him better at that cost. In Dynasty, his cost is elevated because of his youth. He's a very good player. He's just, when they get down the red zone, they're giving it to Derrick Henry. Lamar's running it in. They're throwing it to those tight ends. Or Rashad Bateman for some reason in his 12 touchdowns last year. My problem with Zay is he does not score touchdowns. I think 5 TDs is the high for him in his 3 seasons. So can that change? Yes. Should that change? Yes. He's a great player. But that's kind of my concern with him. But at that price, the 7-11, why not? Kind of freaking out here and trying to get my dynasty brain out of it, but we'll just pick the guy that I was talking up earlier, Travis Etienne. So let's just kind of run you through my team. And then when it comes to your turn here with about 3 picks left for us in this draft, we'll run through yours. But I got Jaden Daniels, Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne as my starting running backs, London Higgins as my wide receivers and nothing else. And then 3 tight ends, Kittle, Kelsey, and Ingram, and Justin Fields as my Superflex guys. So obviously I'm set at tight end. Obviously, I'm pretty set at quarterback. I'll probably take a QB3 later. Anthony Richardson is a great target in my mind as kind of a QB3 with incredible upside. But here we're just kind of filling out running back and wide receiver late with the positions and hoping we stay healthy. I'm pretty happy with the way that things have fallen here. But talking about Travis Etienne, man, we talked about at the top of the show. We just don't know, but at least Liam Cohen's come out and said he'll be heavily involved in the passing game. Rachaad White was like the most efficient receiving running back in almost history, if not history, last season, with just the amount of touchdowns that he was scoring off of his limited volume is absolutely crazy. I'll chalk that up a little bit to system and less so to Rachaad White's natural ability. And then Evan Ingram, I just think he's my tight end for the season. I think Evan Ingram goes nuclear this year with Bo Nix. So I'm happy with that. You've got 2 picks coming up here, Ben, at the 9-10. So why don't you make those picks and I'll pull up. We'll wait till you make your pick here and I will pull up your team and you can tell us what's going on.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
So, I started off the draft with Saquon Barkley. And I think at that point, you want to get a smash running back in redraft.
Yep.
I then kind of followed it up with the pick with Patrick Mahomes, give myself some QB1 upside, and then followed with Marvin Harrison and Garrett Wilson. Just wanted to lock down 2 solid wide receivers that could both end up as wide receiver 1s this year.
Love it.
And then I believe I ended up going, next round with Drake May. I thought, to me, he ends up having another, again, QB1 upside. He's got the highest upside to me out of these young rookie QBs besides Caleb Williams. And then taking TJ Hawkinson next, I think I wanted to lock down a stud tight end with this tight end premium at 0.75. And then following that up with Zay Flowers and DeAndre Swift, wanted to lock up my RB2 and then a solid flex in Zay Flowers. And then just now I picked Khalil Shakir and Zach Charbonnet. And Khalil Shakir to me is a solid flex in redraft. He's going to end up being, Josh Allen's number 1 or number 2 targeted receiver. It's either Keon or Khalil Shakir for me. And then I ended up taking the cuff to Kenneth Walker with some of the news coming out this week about Walker injuring his foot and ankle. I want the cuff that's going to end up possibly getting some playing time and offering some RB1 upside.
Yep. I love that. And that's totally fair. Certainly, Kenneth Walker has always been the guy when healthy. The problem is Kenneth Walker is never healthy, certainly not for an extended period of time. That's been the bane of his career. So betting on Zach Charbonnet, who has stepped in before and done it very, very well, that is not a bad bet to make at all. I ended up taking Egbuka and then Tank Bigsby. Why not double up one of those guys? Maybe both of those guys. We get a situation here that we're happy with. But, look, running back for me is always that position, that RB2 position that I'm always concerned about. I have Kenneth Walker. What are we going to do at RB2? Screw it. Screw the upside of my lineup. I just want a guy who's going to be in there and give me serviceable production. So I took both of those guys, and hey, maybe Etienne gets moved like everyone seems to think he would be or should be. I doubt it. We'll see. Jordan Mason was another consideration there for me. He has not gone off the board yet. But Egbuka, I'm very happy with. Godwin, I think he's going to be out for some time. Egbuka has, talk about post hype. He's got all the hype earlier. He's not necessarily talked about now because everyone's sick of talking about him, because Emeka Egbuka seems to be the real deal. So happy with that draft and those guys there. Richardson at 11-3 is really good looking there. So that's a value for Spencer. And Kyle Pitts. Damn, I love Spencer's team. We'll talk about that afterwards. Ben, you went with Jaden Higgins and Sam Darnold. So how do you feel about how you wrapped up this mock?
I almost took Michael Pittman or Kyle Williams to kind of give myself the stack there. But I decided to go with the highest upside in Jaden Higgins, a guy who I believe is, from his college days at Iowa State, going to be, that number 2 target in Houston. And then in the next round, I ended up taking my QB3 and Sam Darnold to give myself just some good either injury insulation as well as bye week insulation. So I like the build out of my team so far. I didn't feel great taking Charbonnet in one of my starting flex spots, so I wanted to be able to at least back that up with Higgins.
Yep. Absolutely love that. He should be the clear-cut guy. Everybody says Dell looks good, but he's a long ways away, sure. But he's progressing nicely. Jalen Knoll is also in town. Christian Kirk, everybody seems to love. But why wouldn't you just throw to the Nico Collins clone, who is not going to be covered like Nico Collins will, right? So yeah. I think Jaden Higgins has all the opportunity in the world there in Houston if he can take advantage of it. And yeah, Sam Darnold in a nice Kubiak system. I don't love Sam Darnold, but for the price, why the hell not? He's got the weapons. He's got Kupp and JSN, Arroyo. I mean, they got rid of Fant, right? Because Arroyo and Barner are holding it down there. So Sam Darnold landed in a good spot outside of the fact that the offensive line is atrocious, but it should at least be better than last year. So I dig that as well. Geno Smith, I love as well. He went at the 12-6. Jaden Blue, Trey Harris, Marvin Mims. I went with Dylan Sampson. Quinshawn just not reporting right now. Trey Benson is a great pick right there at the 12-12 because apparently James Conner seems to think that Trey Benson's going to get the rock a ton. So our mock has ended here. Superflex 0.75 tight end premium. We're going to do a few things, Ben. We went over your team. Give yourself a grade. How do you feel about this mock for you?
Honestly, I think, I'd say probably where I'm a little bit weaker is at my running back 2. Being able to trot out Saquon at RB1, feeling great, but DeAndre Swift, serviceable. Not something I feel great about. And then I'd say as far as the receivers go, I was able to stack up a lot of depth. And the hope is that at this point, Marvin Harrison and Garrett Wilson kind of live up to the hype that we have for them in the 2025 season. So yeah, I'd say overall probably B+.
Yep. Absolutely fair. I love that, especially as Team 12 auto drafted 5 wide receivers in a row to start. You were lucky to get 2 there in the top 5. If I'm looking at myself, I had to deal with Spencer next to me. So I got sniped a couple of times, but listen, I got my tight ends. I love all of these guys, but specifically Evan Ingram, Travis Kelce. I would have went Jameson Williams if I hadn't freaked out and got sniped there. So I'm going to give myself kind of a B-, stacking the 2 Jags backs. I love the value of both of them. Really not the best idea. I probably should have gone instead of ETN, gone like a Ricky Pearsall, who I was considering. But I don't love those values of really anyone there on the board. Maybe Michael Penix. But Travis Etienne's okay. Bigsby, I really love, and he's not going to land in the 11th for long. And Dylan Sampson, we'll see. Running back position, not super strong, but I feel strong pretty much everywhere else. Wide receiver, not deep yet. But if this draft would go a few more, we could get up to the B+ range, but we're looking at a B-, I think, right now. Let's do this though. Pick a team or two who you like. I will go first just to give you time to kind of look at the board, and I'll talk about Spencer's team because he was just sniping me all draft long. So we'll have a look. He got Josh Allen at the 103. Some will say that's a steal. He took Devon Achane, absolute stud. He's some people's RB1 on the season. You may think it's a hot take. He was the RB1 on points per game over Saquon Barkley when Tua Tagovailoa was on the field last season. 22.5 points per game with Tua. So if Tua is healthy, Jonnu's gone, and all those targets are gone, Achane could absolutely eat. I love it. JT, if he's healthy, we saw what he could do. He did it down the stretch in the playoffs and won people leagues last year. Sam Laporta, I'm not loving Sam Laporta because I am loving Jameson Williams. It doesn't matter. Spencer took JMO at the 6'10", insane value there. Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Tony Pollard, Kyle Pitts, and Richardson. These two are kind of the biggest upside values here. So I love those picks later on. Marvin Mims, I'm not sold on, but hey, why not? They should use him more. Will they use him more? I don't know. I give Spencer's team an A, potentially an A+. He's got all the guys that I love.
Yeah. I think Spencer did a great job of being able to get, some heavy hitters at some of the positions. I think wide receiver is where I kind of feel a little more shaky for him, but I do think that he had picked kind of the best available wide receivers at that point, but he really hammered running back. He got, really good depth at tight end with Laporta and then Kyle Pitts, and then ended up having a good QB room. So I agree with you there, Jeremy, that he had one of the better drafts out of anyone in the mock at this point. For me, I have two. One of them was actually an auto drafted team. So I really like team 4. I am somebody who you wouldn't be able to tell by this draft, but I always try to go heavy wide receiver when I can, at least
same.
The first getting 2 in the first 3 rounds. Jamar Chase, Brian Thomas, and Nico Collins in the first 3 rounds is great. To me, James Conner, he's going to provide. I don't know if I would have taken James Conner there, but that was an auto pick. But he is going to at least be the starter for Arizona at the beginning of the season. And in a redraft lens, he is going to have good value to at least be the starting running back. Taking Brock Purdy in the 5th, that was great value there. I think Brock Purdy is almost a locked and loaded QB1 this season. Travis Hunter is their wide receiver 3 that's taking some risk, but definitely some high upside. David Montgomery is the RB2. Being a Detroit fan, knowing what he offers, when Gibbs is on the field, he's still an RB2. When Gibbs is off the field, he is a locked and loaded RB1. And then to finish out the Superflex for Team 4, it's Cam Ward, and I do see the upside for Cam Ward. A lot of hype going about him right now in training camp. Running back 3 and Brian Robinson, finishing up with Jonnu Smith, Cooper Kupp, and Trey Harris. I think that team has a lot of upside, and I really like the wide receiver start there. The other team that I want to showcase is a little bit more unorthodox. And I know Chris personally. I think he was building it out.
It's a great team. It's a great team.
He's got, he just filled out his flexes, right? So he's got Gibbs and Christian McCaffrey running out of the 1 and 2. And honestly, Christian McCaffrey at the 206 is a great value. Probably should have went ahead of Genty. Could go roughly where Derrick Henry went. And then he followed it up with Chase Brown and Chuba Hubbard, which will probably fill in his flex spots. Think that's great. I think Chase Brown is great at, he's on a high octane offense. He's going to be RB1, RB2 this year in the league in total. And then you have Chuba Hubbard, who is presumably Carolina's RB1. There's no, to me, I don't think there's any question there. ends up getting some good value on Dak in the 5th, gets Xavier Worthy, Pickens, and Waddle as his 3 wide receivers there, and then ends up turning back around, getting Tua as his QB2, and then gets really good value on Jake Ferguson. I think the contract with Dallas definitely shows us that they are invested in Jake Ferguson as their tight end forward. I love Josh Downs. I think that was a great late pick for him. And then Geno Smith is the starter right now in Las Vegas. So I think he ended up taking an interesting route to get there, but I think he ended up with a pretty decent team in the draft.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to shout that out if you didn't as well. But it does bring up another interesting point that I was noticing. We have a lot of Dallas players on Chris's team. We have Dak with Pickens and Jake Ferguson stacked. I am a fan of stacking in redraft. I just think, look, best ball, this is the strategy that you want to go with because you can absolutely go nuclear in a week. But you can also fall off in a week. But best ball, who cares? You just plug in different players automatically. In redraft, obviously that's not the case, but I don't have a problem with it as long as you're getting value and you're not really reaching. George Pickens, I think, is a great value at the 707. Would I maybe take Cortland Sutton over him for safety? Yes. Could I see Calvin Ridley and Rome over him? Sure. But I still really like the value on George Pickens. And then Jake Ferguson, like you said, is a crazy value. It looks like he's tight ends 12-ish right there, which is, he's probably tight end 7, assuming he's healthy because Dak relies on him a lot. How do you feel about stacking? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say. I think my comment on stacking, especially in Chris's situation, is he insulated himself so well early in the draft that he has such solid flexes with Chase Browning and Chuba Hubbard. And so then essentially he could start Xavier Worthy, Jalen Waddle, and Josh Downs in his wide receiver spots, even if Pickens ends up, if he does have more Dak Prescott and Jake Ferguson have more of a connection, right? And Pickens is the kind of the odd man out. But I think it gives him flexibility that he can throw in Pickens any week that he wants to.
Fair.
But I love the upside there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then let's talk about Huncho, who stole CD Lamb from Chris's Ultra Dallas build. But CD, Amon-Ra there, Bo Nix, I love him as well. Kamara, Travion, and Caleb got a couple of great rookie backs who should see plenty of volume. Followed up with Trevor Lawrence, one of the forgotten quarterbacks here. Trevor can run, better offense, one of the best, maybe the best, depending on who, what you believe, wide receiver in the draft this year, going to Jacksonville in Travis Hunter. Mark Andrews, crazy value. Debo Diggs, crazy value. Keon Coleman, if you believe in that. And Jatavian Sanders. Huncho had a crazy good draft. What do you think?
I agree. I think he really hit the positions that needed to be hit at his picks with CD Lamb going 1-6 and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And also, I have to shout out that Huncho is a huge Cowboys fan, first of all. And he always claims that he never leaves a draft without CD Lamb in the first. Yeah. So he did follow up on his mission there. He took Bo Nix in the 3rd. I think Bo Nix is one of my favorite buys in Dynasty in regards to quarterback, as well as I think he's going to have good upside for the 2025 season in redraft. He followed that up with Kamara, Henderson, and Caleb. And I think he got Kamara is, very, very steady as the RB in New Orleans. He's older. So from a dynasty lens, wouldn't be great there, but he's looking at the redraft lens here, and that's a great pick. Henderson and Caleb, they had great draft capital in 2nd and 3rd round, and we are seeing that they're going to have a role in their offense. Henderson provides so much upside, and then Caleb, he is the most talented running back on that roster. I think it's funny because I saw him take the time on his 7th round pick. He, I think, was thinking about somebody other than Trevor Lawrence, and then took Trevor Lawrence, knowing that the value was there. To get a QB 2 bordering on QB 1, if he ends up hitting this season in the 7th round in a super flex, that's great. And then the next round he gets Mark Andrews, who I think was being left out for dead, even though I think he's going to have a solid 2025 coming back. Debo, I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like for him in Washington this season, but he is tied to Jaden Daniels. Stephon Diggs taking another shot on there at him possibly being the wide receiver one in New England. And then ending it off with Keon and Jatavian Sanders. I think he had a great draft as well. He started it off real well with getting some of those heavy hitters with CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yep, absolutely love it. A lot of good drafts in the chat. We say Team 10 is taking it all. Jefferson, Henry, Baker, Hampton, Harvey. We're going to talk about Hampton in a second here. McCarthy, Ridley, Judy. I mean, it's a great team. I hate the tight ends. Listen, either you get tight ends early or you get tight ends late, but you don't get those tight ends. Darren Waller, I think, is giving you nothing this season. Coming out of retirement, he's not participating much. He's not playing in the Dolphins preseason game. He needs those reps.
I probably would have preferred Zach Ertz there.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Zach Ertz is one of my favorite late round guys, or Jatavian Sanders, to be fair. And Dallas Goedert, he just needs an injury. It's between Goddard and Devonta Smith. AJ Brown gets his, but between those two guys, they need an injury, especially with Barkley back there commanding targets. So we're going to do two things right here. The first thing we're going to do is just go through a couple of things in the chat. We had some dissenting ideas. 37 isn't old, referring to Stafford yet. There's probably Rocco who says that it'll be Stafford's last year in the league. So we'll have to see. Jerry, what is up? Thanks for joining. Higgins is a steal, but California 5 Cool is the same guy who said T. Higgins was going too early. He was referring to your pick of Jaden Higgins there. I have to believe. I think both Higgins are good at value, but we'll see. Gino over Darnold, I tend to agree. Both are really good values if Darnold's going to continue to go there. Barkley can be your RB1 and RB2. This is an interesting one. Pickens outproduces Sutton, yes or no, Ben?
I love that.
Yeah, it's a good take.
I do think Sutton is a safer pick, but I really love the upside of this is the best quarterback play that Pickens has seen. And he has the athleticism to be a wide receiver one, just in the same vein of Jameson Williams. We just haven't really gotten the chance to see it since he was in such a bad situation in Pittsburgh. And I do hope that the change of scenery helps Pickens to be able to keep his head on straight. It was funny. We were chatting in the Discord, but it's like Jordan Lewis was signed by the Jaguars. So luckily there's going to be no risks there. But I do hope Pickens has an ascension season. I do think Sutton is the safer pick.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Up and down what you're saying with the ascension season as well. I also think Pickens is used to being the guy, and Pickens is not the guy. And I think that's going to motivate him a little bit more as well. Dak will be able to get him the ball accurately. Like you said, some great QB play. Chris says, we were talking about, he picked Pickens over Sutton. He says he was thinking about Sutton, but wanted the GP stack. You got it. Listen, I'm not mad at it. Go for it, man. Team 10, we talked about that, win the ship. So the last thing I'm going to get you out on here, Ben, and I'll leave this up for just a second because Amari and Hampton here went at the 4:03. We started the show talking about ambiguous backfields. Let's finish the show talking about ambiguous backfields, especially talking to you about what the hell is going on with Najee Harris. It came out today. I think it was a Deepak. This. If you don't know, Deepak is the guy who puts out all of the medical information, and he's got tons of followers, and he's always throwing that out. He said that Najee Harris, quote, isn't close to practicing, although he is he's wearing a weight vest and doing some light jogging. He thinks he'll be back in a couple of weeks, but if you're unfamiliar, it was a 4th of July fireworks injury. The news didn't come out until a week later. He didn't get back to the team until a week after that. And, he's had these gigantic blue blockers on protecting the eye. Is he even going to start the season? And if he doesn't, Amari and Hampton, he's got to be an RB1, right?
It's so funny. We were actually just talking about this in a group chat I'm in with multiple content creators, and we were talking about how right now, after the Hall of Fame game, people are fading Hampton because of his performance.
Ridiculous.
Off of a quarter or two. It's like, go buy him right now.
Yes.
But not as far as Najee goes. You look at it that Hampton has been the guy that they've been giving the ball to so far and have had the reps with at this point. Now, I do think Harbaugh is going to utilize Najee Harris, but I think this just kind of further solidifies that, to me, Amarian is the RB1. There was no question about that. It was just how he was going to end up being utilized and kind of worked into the season as a rookie.
Exactly.
And to that point, I don't think we should be worried at all. I think he's going to start the RB1 at the beginning of the season, personally. Just based off of the Najee injury stuff. I think Najee's going to still be involved. So people that are saying he's going to do nothing, to me, that's false. But I think this only solidifies Amarian as the RB1.
100%. And I'm comfortable taking him in that as the RB 11, 12 off the board right now. And I think a lot of people, he's not there yet in ADP. He gets to, push to RB 16, RB 15. He'll climb up if Najee continues to, not practice. But I agree with you here. It's concerning. And my view is the same as yours. I was just assuming Najee would take the bulk of the carries for the first couple of months. Omarion would be a league winner in the second half. Now, Najee is on a new team. He's not practicing. He doesn't need a lot of practice. He's a hammer, right? So he's just going to get the ball and run forward. At the same time, they're protecting his eye. He's worried about his long-term health here with the eye. You don't want to jostle it or whatever. I had a guy in a group chat saying, he had a buddy of his injure his eye years ago, and the doctor was like, "Don't sneeze." And I was like, "Well, damn! Like I sneeze like a madman. I'm out here like chew. Like my eye, the eye is coming out. Like my eye is gone." And so, these are very touch and go situations. But the way that they're handling Najee right now, I'm sure is precautionary. At the same time, it's a concern. He's not in there.
Yeah, it's very nebulous. We don't exactly fully know the extent of Najee Harris's injury because they're keeping it very close to the vest. But there is some speculation and some reports out there going that he was told it was a minor, very superficial eye injury, and that his vision should mostly come back, and that it shouldn't affect him too much. But it's more so like the inclusion in reps with the team. And at that point, when you're not on the field as early as everyone else is, you're already behind. And so I think he'll be involved, but Amarian is the guy.
And here's the thing, one of the best offensive lines in football, better pass blocking probably, but still you got some road graders there, so they can run block the hell out of the ball as well. But in a Greg Roman system, right, we know they want to run the ball. Jim Harbaugh, we know they want to run the ball. And so if Amarian is the guy, as good as he looked, I think he's absolutely an RB1. I'm not afraid to take him in the third. I think he pushes toward the end of the second. Again, remember, he went 403 in this draft, but this is super flex, right? So we got a lot of quarterbacks going early. I think he's going to be end of the second, a 2-3 turn guy once, ADP solidifies end of August, and I will take him there. I do not mind that.
Yeah. I mean, Genty is unquestionably the RB1 and going basically at that point where he was, and this being the super flex draft, he's going to go in the late first, early second. So I think to lock down the RB2 of this class and hopefully early third, if not later, unless he is being taken late second. That's great value right there for somebody who's going to be getting RB1 usage.
Absolutely love it. Well, Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Before we get to Ben, we'll just talk a little bit about the FFU, the Fantasy Football Universe. We have a Discord. We're in there just talking ball with a bunch of guys who like to do it. We're growing strong. We have the link on our Twitter in the link tree. We usually have it in the description of the YouTube videos there. So feel free to just jump in and join and talk some ball with a bunch of guys that Ben knows very well. We got Dynasty Dog Mike and Rich over there. We got S.C. Romero. We got Jesse Moeller and myself as part of the FFU, Spencer as well, who's in this draft. But then everybody else who's involved just makes it a great environment. Ben, I know you have a Discord as well that you run, and you do Dynasty Gambit. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff?
Absolutely. And I think as far as the Discord goes, we like to support our other creators that we know. And so we always want to promote anything coming from the FFU. We really appreciate Adjust the Ranks, Debbie Planet, Dynasty Dogs with Mike and Rich. So we love you guys. You guys are adding to the community and the space that in a way that we really appreciate. And as far as Austin and I, you can find us on Dynasty Gambit. We are actually with the FSA on Grindhouse. So our larger network is for Fantasy Sports Advice Network. But we are on their Grindhouse channel with our YouTube videos. We do have a TikTok. We have our X account, Twitter account. You can actually reach out to me if you want to get connected in our Discord, as well as any other forms of social media through my X account or my Twitter account at Dynasty Big Mac FF. Definitely you can follow us as well at Dynasty Gambit FF as well. But I would love to get you connected, love to get you in our community. It's a great place. And, we have a lot of other great content creators, as well as a lot of other good community members, some of who were in this mock today to be able to join us. So I really appreciate that. And Jeremy, I always appreciate you guys for pumping up the other content creators you guys know.
Absolutely. We love all of you guys, and we thank you for joining us. We appreciate all of you for joining us. So thank you so much for the kind words. And we're going to wrap it up here. So for Ben, I am Jeremy. We will see you next time.
Mock, yeah. Ing, yeah. Bird, yeah. Yeah. Mockingbird.